Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be my part 3 and part 4. Okay, so let's start part 3, when everything felt too much. My hardest time in Canada. So after deciding to study in Canada, I didn't go straight to Toronto. Instead, I moved to a city called London, Ontario to attend a school called Fanshawe College. To be honest, it was scary for me. Until then, I had only lived in places like downtown Vancouver. So when I took a 3-hour bus ride from Toronto to London, finally arrived in London, it felt like I had entered a forest or an island, quiet, far from everything, and unfamiliar. It's just because Korea is such a small city and I was only living in one place, and I was just familiar with all the area and everything, and suddenly I went to another country, another city, and then I had to go 3 hours from there. So I felt like I was kind of panicking inside. I remember thinking, how am I supposed to live here? It felt like every wall that had once protected me was suddenly gone. Finding a new place to live was even harder than I imagined, because it was a little different compared to the Vancouver. So apartments near school were limited and public transit wasn't that great. There were only buses, but the tour was also like the difference, so it was just really difficult. So it felt almost impossible to find something available. That's when I started to learning things on my own, like how to take the bus, how to get student ID, finding housing, all those things step by step. I even start writing a blog post so that other international students wouldn't go through the same struggles that I went. Okay, so when the school classes started, I noticed something else. Pre-health at Fanshawe felt a little bit different from Toronto. It's just most of the classmates were young, local, and mostly white, especially for the pre-health. They didn't mean to be unkind, I think, but I just felt so out of the place, because some didn't return my greetings, some never sat beside me. There were times I felt like I was invisible. Eventually, I stopped saying hi altogether, and I felt like I started to shrink. Even now, I sometimes struggle to greet new people at work. I think it's quite kind of like trauma that stayed with me now. Anyway, and classes, they were so hard. Like words, because I also learned anatomy too, like those medical words, and also just chemical words, all of them I knew that in Korean, but English is another thing, right? So for example, we call it CO2 in Korean, it's 이산화탄소, but in English it's carbon dioxide. I had to exactly know how the pronunciation and everything, how to write it correctly. I felt like different, like another language. And I also had to learn about biology, chemistry, physics, and all other things together, all in English. And I was constantly lost in class. I didn't even know how to check my class schedule and grades or quizzes. So I was always asking around, and I emailed professor so many times. I begged for help, because I was so scared of failing, just because I didn't know how that system worked. And I think I studied harder than I ever had. Some days I had classes from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. So then I'd go home. So after class, I'd go home and then prep my lunch for the next day. And then I studied until 3 a.m. and woke up at 6, so slept for 3 hours and then do it all over again. I also had a roommate at the time, and I believe I had a hard time, but I'm pretty sure she also had a hard time, so we both struggled. And living with someone else for the first time wasn't that easy for me. And I was actually living in the living room at the time, so it was more hard, but like it was just too hard for me too. I'm pretty sure she was having a hard time too inside in her room. But anyway, even when I gave it all, my grades didn't always show it, and that hurt too. And then some professors were very kind, but others not so much. One professor still stays in my memory because he was always acting like he really cared about the international student and me. But one day when I mentioned to him that I got a job at Starbucks and then, you know, at school, and then I remember he was looking at me and then like he said, you work there? And then as if it didn't really suit me. And I can't forget the look on his face. But anyway, anyway, I got all A plus in pre-health. And I am proud of that because it wasn't just about the grades. It was, you know, it's like a proof that I survived when everything felt impossible for me. Of course there were people who helped me a lot, like there were people who drove me all the time, and then there's also I found a really good friend like Nina. She was not even my classmate. She was kind of senior, but she sat next to me and then she always helped me to understand biology, chemistry, like from the tiniest little words to the most complicated topics. And Nina, if you're watching this, I just wanted you to know that you really saved me, and really I appreciate your help. But later I didn't get into RPN program. My GPA guy was 4.11 out of 4.2. So 4.1 out of 4.2, I didn't get a nursing like RPN program. Can you imagine how competitive it was? For like there were only 8 seats available for international students, and then I don't know, some people got 4.2, some people just there were some complex issues. But anyway, it broke my heart too because I was so sure that I could get in. But now I think maybe it wasn't meant to be because it led me to York University, BSc program, where I eventually got accepted to the RN program, right? Tuition was definitely expensive because it was international tuition. It was even more expensive. I didn't even want to ask my parents for help. So I wasn't really thinking of going to RN program when I was studying in pro health, but my colleagues encouraged me to apply for fun. So I applied and then I got in. I also got into dental hygiene, but I really wanted to go to York, but because of the tuition, I couldn't really say it to my parents. And my parents, I cried when my parents said, just go to York. So was I happy at York? Honestly, not always. Some professors didn't use slides. Some professor didn't even have slides. Some professor uploaded low quality YouTube lectures with thick accents without slides. And then COVID hit. So everything got even harder for me because I couldn't understand online. It was just like listening test to me all the time. So I had to record every lecture. I borrowed notes from all of my friends. I rewrote everything again and again, and I compared, reviewed, tried not to fall behind. Those notes, I later shared them with my friends, and when people told me that it helped them, it made me feel very proud. Clinical placement were a whole new challenge again. I mean, I couldn't understand. Cause I'm a foreign, international student. I never went to, hospital in Korea too. So I had no clue how this Canadian hospital environment was, what kind of department they have. It was just a whole new thing for me. So I had so many questions. I was always lost. But even then, sometimes I felt very ignored, like, or misunderstood by colleagues, but also like by professors as well. There were days I studied for a week straight, and someone who crammed the night before still got better grade than me. I don't know, those times, I understand it's obviously, it's just reality, but it still hurt, you know? Because I tried my best, but still, it's not good enough. But I kept trying, I've kept going. And you know what? I ended up getting scholarships every year, and finally I graduated school. Still, I mean, there were nights I cried a lot. I didn't want to tell my family in Korea because I know they couldn't come. So they can't do nothing. They can't do anything for me. I didn't want to burden my friends in Canada because I know they're so busy with their own lives and studying and everything. So I kept everything inside. And sometimes, I don't know, there were times I thought, if something happened to me today, would anyone even notice? Yeah, I was suppressed time to time. But I wasn't truly alone, because I had such a good friends. I had friends who brought me food when I got COVID, who sat with me in ER, who wrote me birthday cards in Korean, who clapped me when I presented in class, who helped me all the time. Like, those people, they helped me feel seen and loved. And that's why I survived school. Yeah, again, everyone, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being my friend. I really think that I survived because of you guys. But anyway, so let's move on to next chapter, part 4, starting my career as a nurse. When I started working as a nurse in Canada, I thought, well, I kind of know how workplace work in Korea, you know? So maybe I figure it out. But this was my first real job in a new country. And it was just harder than I expected. And as an introvert and someone who had been hurt by people ignoring me before, it was just so hard to say hi first. I didn't know how to make small talk. Watch too polite, watch too quiet. But thankfully, I wasn't alone. Canadian hospitals are like very diverse, especially the hospitals that I work in. Many of my coworkers were also from different countries, or they're like, you know, all like, some of them were immigrants, some of them were from here, but you know, it's very diverse. So even if my English wasn't perfect, I didn't really felt like I'm, you know, not good. Or I don't know. I think when my patient kind of felt that when they felt that I cared about them, they trusted me mostly. And those experiences kind of was my turning point. I still kind of struggled because of the physical, I don't want to say disability, but like, my immune system broke down, so I got sick a lot. And you know, like, we do have like a sick calls, and then it is allowed. There's still I think there is still unspoken stigma. Sometimes it feels like people don't really believe you're sick. And it made me feel very bad and guilty because I was actually sick and I couldn't do anything about it. I'm trying my best. I'm taking all the health supplements. I'm trying to sleep well, eat well, but still, I get sick. So I don't know. I hated myself being sick all the time, and I don't know. It was just so hard at the time. I was doing NRT at first. I mean, working different units all the time, learning different system, meeting new team as a new nurse. It was just too much for me, I think. And also outside of the work, I was also making lectures for like English lectures, English, like writing English book. I was literally exhausted. But you know what? I never give up. I kept going. It was also very difficult for me to adjust to, just work environment at first, but I told myself they will understand me. Let's just give it a time. And then they did. I think they did. Now I've been working for over a year, and I'm more confident now. I'm less anxious. I know how to manage my time. I still make mistakes, but I learn from them. So I'll be okay. What really helped me wasn't just the experience. It was just, showing up every day with a positive attitude, helping others when I could, staying constant and reliable, and above all, learning to value myself. So if you're starting for your first job in a new country, please know this. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just be kind, work hard, stay grounded in who you are, and then give yourself some time. You're already doing more than enough, I'm sure. So, I hope this story kind of makes you feel better or related a little bit. So if you're struggling, you're not alone. I've been there. Just trying to share my experience. Anyway, so thank you so much for walking through my story with me, guys. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Okay, see you guys in my next video.